December 26, 2004 saw one of the worst natural disasters in recorded history. But in the midst of that tragedy, there was an incredible story of a young girl named Amber Owens, a British girl that was on vacation in Thailand when the tsunami hit. Over the course of 2 weeks while she was there in Thailand, just befriended this elephant, fed it, those types of things. And the elephant would even just became very affectionate towards her, would hug her with its trunk and those types of things. Well, on the morning of December 26th, Amber had the opportunity to ride Ning Nong along the beach in Phuket, Thailand. So she was riding the elephant, and the trainer that was with the elephant just noticed that Ning Nong was acting odd, not wanting to be near the water, just wanting to leave, wanting to get away, and kept on pushing the elephant towards the water. And finally, at one point, the elephant just took off away from the beach, running with Amber on its back. And sure enough, just a few moments later, as the elephant is taking off, the gigantic tsunami wave comes in on the shore, washing away dozens of people into the Indian Ocean. And that the elephant finds a secure place and saves Amber's life, and her parents were able to find her and bring her to safety. It's an incredible story of the instinct of this elephant, but also the care that the elephant provided to this young girl. This passage in Mark 13, while very challenging, offers us a glimpse of another disaster that was absolutely gigantic to the Jewish people during the time of Jesus and slightly after Jesus' time. Jesus has been in the temple over the course of the last few days discussing things, and as he's leaving the temple, he says these words that are recorded for us in Mark 13. The disciple says to him, "Look, teacher, what wonderful stones and what wonderful buildings," pointing to the temple, the gigantic temple complex. And Jesus says to him, "Do you see these great buildings? There will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." I think for us sitting 2,000 years after Jesus, it's very difficult for us to understand just how shocking of a reality that statement would have been. But that this is a disaster on the same type of scale of 250,000 people dying in the tsunami on December 26, 2004. That the shocking nature of this would have been similar. Well, a couple of the disciples hear Jesus say this shocking statement, and they want to know, they want to be prepared for when this disaster is going to occur. So they ask Jesus later, as they are on the opposite side of the mountain from Jerusalem, and they say, "When is these things going to happen? And what signs that we would know that this is going to occur so we can be prepared?" And Jesus provides a number of items for these people, to the disciples, to be ready for this. He says, "Don't be alarmed about various things, but be on guard." He tells them to be ready to share about the good news that he has about God's love for the world, that his death and resurrection is going to have for the world. And finally, he tells them that there will be warning signs and that there will be armies surrounding Jerusalem and those types of things that will give them a clue. And then he says, when you see these signs coming, to flee to the mountains. Now, this is the incredible thing that we know standing on this side of history, this side of the destruction of the temple, is that there was a point that when the early church saw the signs that Jesus was talking about, that they did in fact flee to the mountains. They went to the southeast, and then we hear that the church in Jerusalem, the believers of Jerusalem, fled to the southeast up into the mountains away from Jerusalem, and was saved from the great destruction that occurred in Jerusalem at the hands of the Romans in AD 70. Now, this is absolutely incredible that this group of people, when they heeded and were obedient to the words of Jesus, received Jesus' protection and guidance. This is important for us because it's the same type of thing today, that Jesus longs to be able to be a protector for us. Jesus wants to be one that guides us through difficult situations in our lives. Much like Ning Nong protected and guided Amber Owens on his back away from the danger of the tsunami, that Jesus longs to be that type of one that picks us up and carries us to safety in the midst of crazy situations. But what does that look like? What does that look like in the daily application of our lives? One of the first things that crosses my mind is our relationships, and that Jesus has given very clear direction to us about watching our language, that we don't lie to one another, that we're honest about ourselves, about who we are, that we're humble before one another. And that if we're obedient to those things, that Jesus will guide us into places of safety, much like Ning Nong carried Amber to a place of safety. I think of this with the care of our physical bodies, which is another one that Jesus has told us about, that the care of our physical body, that when we submit ourselves to that teaching of Jesus about taking care of this temple, that Jesus carries us into places of safety. Things like sexual promiscuity, that moving outside of the confines that Jesus has given for us with our sexual relationships puts us in a position where he cannot keep us safe any longer, but that we place ourselves in a position of danger, but that if we're obedient to that, that Jesus is able to carry us into safe places that way. Or even in other areas, such as our eating habits, for example, or the simple substances that we take in, that being obedient to the care of our physical body allows Jesus to bring us to a place of safety. I think as well of the idea of envy or jealousy for possessions that others have can lead us into some very bad decisions financially. We can find ourselves making purchases that are not allowing Jesus to keep us safe moving forward financially, and that we might need that for some other expense in the future that we're not going to have available because we're tied down in debt or those types of things. So I ask you today that as you think about these words of Jesus in Mark 13, about being aware of the signs, as we communicate with Jesus on a daily basis, and that we pray to him that Jesus might simply tell us, I don't want you to do this today, or I want you to go here, or I want you to say this, and that there might be something that would be critically important to your safety, much like Ning Nong and Amber Owens. If you find this teaching to be helpful, I encourage you to subscribe, hit the notification button, and also find someone to share this video with, so that way they would know this great protection that we have in Jesus Christ.